What's going on YouTube? Today we've got the 2023 BMW 760i.
And we want to know, has this big, bold BMW finally overtaken the Mercedes S-Class?
That's what we're about to find out. All right, so let's get things started here with our spec dump. So this all-new 7 Series now comes with 3 powertrain variants: the 740i, the 760i, and the all-electric i760. This is the most powerful version of the gas models. So this is the 760i we have today, 536 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque.
We do also have an 8-speed automatic transmission, standard X-Drive all-wheel drive on every single 7 Series, and your fuel economy is going to be an impressive 27 mpg for the 740i or 21 mpg for this 760i.
And we'll cover the rest of the specifications when we take this out on a drive a little later in the video, but for now, let's go ahead and check out the exterior. So with this exterior design of the all-new 7 Series, BMW went bold. This is a totally new look for the brand. BMW describes this as progressive and memorable. Sure, that's one way to describe it. This is a really bold look, and it is going to set the stage for all future BMW models going forward. So be sure to go down below in the comments. Let us know what you think of this new look. Nevertheless, let's start to break down some of the design elements of this front-end design. So we have the large kidney grills. As you can see, they're kind of more squared off than in the typical BMW product. This is going to usually be finished in chrome, but we do have the extended shadow line package on today's example. That's going to black out all of the front end. Now, this is available in luxury and M Sport design groups. That also changes many other elements of the front end design. One of those things is that the lower fascia here is going to be much more aggressive on the M Sport model like we have today. And all of this element that kind of comes up here in black and then juts down below the headlight, this is all part of the M Sport appearance group. Now let's go ahead and talk about the headlights. These are also very unique for this new 7 Series model. As you can see, we're rocking the split design. So up at the top, daytime running light and turn signal indicators, down below the main headlight unit. This is a very advanced setup. As you can see, it's a beautiful design. These are of course going to be full LED. They're adaptive. You also have built-in cornering lamps. And we do have one of the cool options, which is the fact that these headlights are made of crystals, because we do have the executive package on today's model. That's a real crystal up there in the headlights. And of course you have exit and entry animations as well. And coming around to the rear design, just like with the front, this is a pretty big departure from the typical BMW look, except maybe the 2 Series Grand Coupe. I can see a little similarity in the shape of the taillights, but overall, this certainly doesn't look like the previous generation or your typical BMW sedan.
It's very bold too. And as far as some of the design elements, we do have a blacked out spoiler up top. Let's check out these taillights. These are some very premium LED taillights. You can see a lot of cool design elements, and Drew is going to check and see if all of the elements are LED. So our brake light, that's a check. We do also have a really nice turn signal that has the nice fading design. And then down here in your lower bumper, that's where you're going to find your LED reverse light. So all the elements are LED. And also, since we're down here, let's go ahead and talk about this. Since we have the M Sport model, all of this is going to be black. I know it's a little bit hard to see on this dark blue example, but it does give it a much sportier vibe. Also for the 760i, this is going to be the only one that has the quad exposed exhaust tips. Now do keep in mind these are faux quad exhaust. There's only 2 real exhaust on the 760i.
Now, despite this sharing a lot with the Rolls-Royce lineup, they did not include complimentary umbrellas like the Phantom has. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and talk about the wheel options. So you're going to have 19, 20, and 21-inch options on board. We have the 20-inch option with the M Sport model. As you can see, a lot of black contrast. It looks pretty good. We do have the painted black brake calipers as well. And I do want to mention that in terms of the i7, that does have some different wheel options from the gas-powered models, because depending on which you choose, you do want more aerodynamic options for maximum range. Now, as we rise on up here to our mirrors, These are going to be fully loaded with all the features as you'd expect. So that's going to be heating, power folding, auto dimming, and blind spot monitoring.
All right, guys, so now let's talk about the side design of the 7 Series. Now, you're definitely going to see a big departure here as well. It's going to be bold and very squared off. You have square flush door handle holes as well as a squared off kink right here. And since we have the M Sport model, everything is going to be blacked out. If you go for the luxury design groups, it's going to be chrome, so it's really going to stand out in terms of the design. Now, as far as the overall length, you're looking at 212.2 inches long, which is actually 5.1 inches longer than the previous generation 7 class. It's actually 5.1 inches longer than the previous 7 Series and longer than the Mercedes S-Class. I also want to point out that we do have rear wheel steering on this particular model, which is a really cool feature that helps this big vehicle actually drive like it's a lot smaller. Now, as far as your warranty and safety information, let's go ahead and talk about that. BMW's signature warranty applies here, so that's going to be 4-year, 50,000 miles for your basic and powertrain warranty, 3 years for your complimentary maintenance, which is a nice feature that Mercedes does not offer as standard equipment. And for your safety systems, of course, this is a flagship sedan, so you're going to have a lot of them. You're going to have standard forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, auto high beams, as well as lane keeping assist. If you want adaptive cruise control, you will have to go for a driver's assistance professional package, but it doesn't just throw in adaptive cruise control. It actually allows for hands-free highway driving of up to 80 miles per hour. So this is a very advanced driving assistant. But guys, that's all for the big, bold exterior design. Now let's check out the incredibly luxurious cabin.
So these types of vehicles are, of course, all about the cabin. Let's go ahead and get inside. Before we get in, let's take a look at our key fob. This is a new BMW design. As you can see, very nicely finished. We have piano black and metal. You do have remote start on the key fob, or of course you have full app control. And I should mention that this does come standard with the latest version of BMW Digital Key, which gives you full access via your phone. Let's go ahead and walk on up here. We do have an electronic door handle system, so you're just going to reach behind and that will open up the door itself. Or we do have the available automatic opening doors. So if you want that to work, you're just going to press in on this button right here, step back, and the door will fully open up and welcome you inside, because opening up your own door is for less fortunate folks. Now, let's take a look inside of this stunning cabin. They have really gone with a very bold and futuristic look inside. And I'm going to start off by talking about our seat options. So, as you can see, these are beautifully designed seats. You've got a couple different choices in terms of your materials. So the 740i is going to come standard with Vengaza leatherette. However, on the 760i, like what we have today, that will come standard with the extended merino leather options. For this, you've got a ton of color choices: black, dark red, tartufo, atlas gray, mocha, or smoke white, which I think is my absolute favorite option. This is a stunning looking seat, and it is incredibly comfortable. I love the quilting design and also how that continues up into the center console. Now right over here, you do have a button which will automatically close the door as well. Now, I did fail to mention earlier exactly how many seat adjustments you have. So you do have a lot of different ways you can adjust it with these beautiful crystal controls, and we do have the available massage, which is going to be that button right there. But let's go ahead and talk about the overall materials inside of this cabin. Again, it is a stunning place to spend time. So, starting over here on our door trim, we have leather from literally the top to the bottom. So this is all the way down here, coming up in the smoke gray finish. We have full leather across the top, beautiful metal speaker grille right here, as well as down here. And of course, you do have the 2-person memory seating, 4 fully automatic windows. In terms of your wood choices, you've got 4 different choices on board for that, and you also have an available carbon fiber choice if you prefer that. We have leather all across the upper dash as well, basically every single surface. At this point, honestly, it feels like I am inside a cow. There's so much leather. Down below, we have this right here. This is a very special feature. It's what BMW calls their new interaction bar. So as you can see, this is actually a big bar of glass, and this interacts with different things you say in terms of with like the BMW Assistant, drive modes, something like that. As you can see, the entire thing lights up. It's really a beautiful sight to behold. As we come down below, you have more of the genuine wood and glass controls through there. But let's go ahead and start it up. But now let's go ahead and move into a more intimate first-person point of view to take a look at all the interior details, the first of which will be right here at our gauge cluster. So this is the 12.3-inch BMW digital cluster. It is part of this overall curved display system. And of course, fully reconfigurable. You can just press this button right here on the steering wheel, and this will present you with a series of choices in terms of your content. Right now we have the augmented reality camera system on board, which looks really cool. You can also, furthermore, go in and change each of these things to a different layout as well. So there's some different types of looks, and you can also make adjustments inside of this display to the head-up display, which is also included standard. As you can see, this is a humongous head-up display, and it has just as many options as that lower display. By the way, the flashing little lights you see, you cannot actually see these with the human eye. It's only visible on camera, and these are what is going to be monitoring you for that highway drive assist to make sure you're paying attention. Now, coming back to the steering wheel, we've got a brand new design for the BMW brand. It's got a squared off look. If you choose the luxury model, it's going to be 2-spoke. With the M Sport model, you have this additional 3rd spoke down here at the bottom, but really lovely steering wheel. I love the feel of it. I like the design of it. Of course, everything's fully leather covered, including the airbag cover. It is going to be power adjusting. And then you also have steering wheel heating on board. If you have steering wheel heating, that's also going to include heated armrests on both sides. That's part of the Radiant heating package, which is standard on the 760i model. But let's turn over here to that center console and start to take a look around at some interior storage. So if you press that button, you have a decently sized center console, of course very nicely finished with a felt lining, 2 USB ports, and a 12-volt outlet inside. And we have to put it to the test with storage. But, of course, coupons don't exactly make sense in a car that costs this much. So let's go ahead and see how it fits the fat stacks of cash. No problem whatsoever, even if you have more than that. Now up in front of that, we've got a little console area here, glass controls. Your cup holders are actually going to be located underneath of these individual wood pieces. And then right in front of that, you've got another flat area. This is your wireless phone charging pad. Now as I pull back to the shifter, this has the latest BMW design. I call this the nub shifter. It's just a very small shifter. Of course, you're just going to press back for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then press up to the top if you want to go into reverse. When you go into reverse, you'll be greeted with this 360-degree camera system if you choose the Parking Assistance Pro package. As you can see, really nice look to this. We can also click this button right here and go into a full 3D view. And this is where you can just cycle all around the vehicle and see it in extreme detail. It looks really, really nice. When you choose this option, this is also going to give you the automatic parallel and perpendicular parking system. So I definitely recommend checking off that box because you're going to want those features on your 7 Series. And then just press the P right there to go into park. Now next to the shifter, you do have a lot of controls. This will control the infotainment system if you don't want to put fingerprints on the touchscreen. We also have some buttons for our air suspension and our drive mode and our audio system. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So you do have a standard 655-watt, 18-speaker Bauer & Wilkins sound system. But if that's not enough for whatever reason, you can get a 1965-watt, 36-speaker Bauer & Wilkins Diamond Series sound system for about $5,000 additional dollars if you prefer. But let's go ahead and sample this standard version. Wow, I can't imagine what the optional sound system sounds like because this one is absolutely stunning. You have beautiful sound quality, lots of details, and of course it really fills up this cabin very, very well. Okay, so let's keep on going up the dashboard. The next area we come to is kind of our climate control area. So you'll notice we don't really have any physical dials on this new generation of the 7 Series. To adjust your climate, you're just going to come up here to the touch display and you can just quickly make a temperature adjustment. Everything's going to be automatic in terms of like your heated seats. So you can see in here we've got a very overwhelming amount of buttons that you can make different settings, but it is all done automatically, so you really don't have to go inside of that complicated display. You also notice you don't see any obvious vents. That's because they're integrated inside of this light bar. And you just use these little buttons right here, as well as this slider up top, to make your adjustments to the invisible vents. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the main display as well. So I mentioned this curved display setup. The infotainment side of things is going to be 14.9 inches. In terms of your features, right now I'm in the Android Auto interface. This, of course, is standard, and it does run wirelessly as well as Apple CarPlay. I'll click back into the main iDrive system. This is the latest version, iDrive 8.0. So we do have this really nice design with the tiled interface. You've got a lot of functionality that you can choose between. This, of course, is the built-in navigation system. One of the other important aspects is that we have the enhanced BMW Virtual Assistant. So you can say, hey, BMW, and then it will respond to all your different queries. It also has the awareness of if it's the driver or the passenger saying things, it can respond accordingly. And finally, wrapping up the front of the cabin, we do have a standard auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. And heading up here to the roof, we're going to see a big change from the previous generation, which had a split sunroof design. This is now a single-piece panoramic sunroof. And this is also embedded with the Sky Lounge LEDs. So this is going to light up at night with a really cool design, and the color is going to match the ambient lighting inside of the rest of the cabin. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is the fact that this does not open up.
Sir, you can close your door with this button here.
What do you think? I'm a peasant? Shut it.
I'm sorry, sir.
All right, now that I've made it into the 7 Series rear seat, I guess this is fine. It's not a Rolls Royce, but my doors do shut automatically at least. All jokes aside, let's go ahead and talk about this rear area because this is a beautifully crafted rear seat. So let's go ahead and hop right into the space. We're looking at 43.3 inches of rear legroom, 38.6 inches of headroom, which is an incredible amount of space for a sedan. It's going to be right on par with the Mercedes S-Class, and it is going to be larger than the previous version of the 7 Series. And I did bring my handy-dandy ruler, if I can get it out of my pocket. It's tied up on my coat pocket here. And look at this. It's actually over a foot between my knees and the seat back. So I'd say, if I'm estimating, that's another inch or so. So 13 inches between my knees and the seat back. This is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9" for reference. So a ton of space. Now let's go ahead and hop into the features, though, because BMW didn't leave you without any features, that's for sure. So here in the center, let's start here. We do have some beautiful wood trim. These are going to be how you control the flow of the vents. You can also turn them off there. There's a little storage cubby right here, so if you want to stack your $100 bills, you could do so there. Then you do have the middle seat option. You can also fold this down inside of here. It's not really going to be anything special. It's just going to be some storage. It is nicely felt lined. 2 USB ports right there. We also have charging USB ports in the back of each seat back. By the way, these seat backs look phenomenal from the rear seat. I love how BMW has paid attention to the way the front seats look from the rear. You even have the wood trim in the headrest. This is a beautiful seat. But all of your controls are actually going to be on your door. So you're probably thinking, where are all my heated seat controls, all that good stuff? That's all going to be integrated in your screen. So if you tap the climate menu, from there you'll be able to adjust your own temperature because we do have 4-zone climate control on every single model. We also have the ability to turn on our heated rear seats. We have heated rear seats as standard equipment. on the 7 Series. You can, of course, option on several packages to add even bougier touches, such as seat ventilation, seat massaging, the power adjustment. Those are going to be included on the higher end models, and you can even have as fancy as have a 7-inch tablet detach. So there's a lot of packages that you can add on, and a footrest. So really a lot of things you can add on to make this rear seat as executive as you need it to be. Now, I also want to point out that we do have rear window sunshades. Those are also going to be standard. So with one press, I can shut the side windows, the rear windows, the moonroof, all of them with one press if I want to be nice and private in my 7 Series. Not done yet, though, because you do have the option of a 31-inch rear seat theater system. This particular 7 Series does not have that. I'm sad I don't get to show you that feature because it is a really crazy, extravagant feature that is available on the 7 Series. It's a $5,000 option, and it allows for movie viewing and a lot of really cool features. Now, in regards to your trunk, it is going to be a hands-free power one, as you would expect on every 7 Series model. And once inside of here, you're going to find a good amount of space. You're looking at 13.4 cubic feet of cargo capacity for the gas-powered models. That's actually more than the Mercedes S-Class, for those of you keeping track. The i7 is going to be reduced a little bit to 11.7 cubic feet as a maximum cargo capacity. But as you can see, it swallows up all of our camera gear perfectly fine. And I do want to point out the rear seats do not fold because, of course, you do have that power ability in the rear area, so they're not going to have the folding, but you do have a trunk pass-through if you need that additional space to fit something long. And then we do also have our covered cargo hinges. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new 2023 BMW 7 Series. And in this test drive, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We're going to be talking about our engines, the accelerations, how it rides. Of course, that's a very important part of a 7 Series, as well as do our slam dunk airball and get a sound level reading to see if this 7 Series is actually quieter than the S-Class. So let's go ahead and hop into that.
All right, there's a quick punch of the accelerator here in the 7 Series. And not just any 7 Series, the 760i. That's the V8 powered model. So we already talked a little bit about, of course, what's under the hood. This is the 4.4 liter turbo V8, producing 536 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. So obviously a lot of power, has a nice V8 growl as well, and it's just smooth power delivery.
Yeah, so smooth.
Now, as promised, we're going to flesh out some of the specifications of the other two powertrain options, which are the full electric i7 and the 740i. So for the full electric i7, that's a really unique offering, to have a full electric one that you can buy now. And that has almost exactly the same power as the 760i model. It's the same horsepower, almost the same amount of torque, and that's coming from a 101 kilowatt hour battery pack. So obviously a very large battery pack, capable of delivering quite a bit of range, which Mason will talk about in a little later in the video when we talk about overall efficiency.
Yeah, and as far as your 0 to 60s, you're looking at 4.5 seconds for that i7 model, 4.1 seconds for the 760i, and of course, you're going to be looking at a little bit more for the 740i at 5 seconds, but really not massive differences in terms of the 0 to 60 or actual performance of this model. The 740i is going to have a 3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinder. We've sampled that out in a lot of other BMW products. It's a fantastic motor. It's super smooth. You don't have to get a 760 or anything to have a very smooth powertrain experience, so don't feel like you need to do that, but certainly going to be a little bit of an upgrade since that model only has 375 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to be up 40 horsepower over the previous 740i.
Yeah, it's just really good that this year you've got those 3 distinct choices, including that first full electric option. If you're ready to make that switch, you can do that. But as far as the 2 gas-powered powertrains, those do have some level of electrification. It's a small amount,
Yeah.
but they do both have the 48-volt mild hybrid system, and that has some benefits, which we'll talk about as we go through this drive.
Very nice.
So nice, so smooth.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. This is, of course, a very important part of anything in this segment. Our final number is sitting at 51.7 decibels.
Wow.
Ooh, very, very good sound level reading. I do believe that's right on par with that S-Class model, so that is certainly saying something that the 7 Series is just as quiet as an S-Class, because that's really the benchmark of the quietest vehicle money can buy. So, I mean, it's really an impressive atmosphere, and I do want to talk about your ride quality, because this 7 Series, it just does a phenomenal job. I mean, just sitting here, the seat is probably one of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat in. I'd say it's up in the top 5. It might even be more comfortable than the S-Class from what I remember. I mean, it's just so soft, so supportive. I'm getting a massage right now, and the suspension does such a good job, guys. Now, if you just watch as we go over into concrete, it just soaks it up so well. And of course, we do have a standard air suspension. That's why the ride quality is so good. Standard air suspension with adaptive dampers.
Yeah, everything about this vehicle just feels so effortless and smooth, including the 8-speed automatic transmission. Both the gas-powered versions will come with an 8-speed automatic. Of course, the electric version, it doesn't really have a transmission, so... But regardless of that, you do have Xtronic all-wheel drive for all 3 versions.
And since he did just mention that we do have standard X-Drive all-wheel drive, that does mean that we're going to have 2 different fuel economy ratings and 1 electric range. So for your fuel economy ratings, you're going to be sitting at 25, 31, 27 miles a gallon combined for the 740i model. That is very impressive fuel economy, and I'm sure BMW is able to achieve that from that new mild hybrid technology that is on this 7 Series. Then if you go for the 760i, like what we have today, it's going to be 18, 26, 21 miles a gallon combined. So that's quite a bit of a fuel economy deficit, about 6 miles a gallon for going for the V8. Of course, I'm sure those of you who are springing for the V8 aren't that concerned about fuel economy, but do keep in mind it runs on premium fuel. Now, if you go for the i7, you might be curious about the range. You're going to be sitting at a maximum range of 318 miles for that model with the 19-inch alloy wheel combination.
All right, now it's time to talk about the signature airball and slam dunk. I'm going to start with the slam dunk. And that's got to be, for us, the just kind of cabin experience. BMW really pushed the envelope here. This is night and day compared to the previous generation. You just have so much luxury, of course, which is expected, but they really added this cool, high-tech vibe to this car, and it all works. It really does work really well, all the technology features that they put in here.
Yeah, just after living with it today, it definitely all comes together, like Drew said. And then as far as our airball is concerned, you have a very controversial and really tech-filled, push-the-envelope interior design, but you also have that on the outside. So whether you like that, that's going to be up to you, but certainly the exterior design is going to be bold, which is something you typically don't see in this segment. Normally they're just elegant and classy, so you might like that, but it's also not going to be for everyone. Now, lastly, I do want to talk about the pricing for this all-new BMW 7 Series. Now, this is really a 7 Series strong element. Now, it depends, of course, on what you compare this to, but this is going to be significantly cheaper than its chief rival, the Mercedes S-Class. It's going to be about $20,000 less specifically as your base price. So you're going to be sitting at a base price of $93,999. $300 for the 740i. It does come standard with all-wheel drive. 760i is going to start at $113,600. Do keep in mind a little bit more standard equipment on the 760i. You're not just paying for the engine. And the i7 is going to be the most expensive option, starting at $119,300. Now, we have the 760i. We also have pretty much all the options that you would want to add on, plus a pretty pricey $1,950 paint job on this model. $995 for your destination brings you to a total of $124,195 for this 760i. So who is this all-new BMW 7 Series for? Well, I think the answer to that is going to be someone who needs the best of everything. I think that's really anyone in this segment of vehicle. But I think it's going to be someone that wants the best of everything and wants to stand out and have just the highest tech cabin experience out there. This, of course, is a chief rival of the S-Class, and the S-Class is really good in its own ways, but the 7 Series completely stands out in different ways than the S-Class. Yeah, guys, and that's going to wrap up our 2023 BMW 760i review. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would certainly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It helps give us access to beautiful vehicles like these, the newest cars, to show you all first. So please go ahead and do that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, where we have other forms of content, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.